a new speed limit, get people used to it. So I don't know, I don't think our office has any objection to that, but it is something that will require a resolution
Yes.
by the board. So we didn't put it for formal action today, partially because of that.
Good.
See what the board thinks of it, and we can follow through with the resolution in the coming week.
Right. Jake, how about those signs that, detect your speed limit? Is that a grant type of thing, or, so that's, like
No.
if you, go through these small towns, I'm seeing more and more of those.
So
Is
there's,
that anything we could put up to let them know the speed limit's gonna change and it's gonna get less and less the more you get into town?
so one of them is, we did it before on one of our roads as a rental. We could rent it free just for a temporary thing. What you're talking about going into town, there is programs for that right now. The cities can apply and get those partially or maybe even fully funded, but that's not available to the counties right now. That would have to be out of our own pocket to put some of those up.
That's
Well,
one.
just to let them know that we're gonna change the speed limit, instead of it being a surprise, it's always good to have, I don't know, and Kevin's right, you're not gonna make them stop or slow down, but maybe if they're aware of it and blinking lights or something that they can see, there is gonna be a change here.
Yeah, I mean, just what Kevin said, putting those red flags is kind of how we attack that. I can put it out on Facebook in 4 minutes is kind of how we get the news out. And then, I don't know, sheriff wise, if it be lenient, they certainly don't have to. But the red flag should be sufficient. And we would do it all the way up to 34 for the whole length of the road.
Uh-huh,
So it'd be one coming off there and then leaving town.
okay, all right.
Let's get a resolution written up for next week and put that on the agenda, and we can all act when we're all here. 55 and 45. That's what we agreed on, wasn't it?
I think as you come through the underpass into Stevens, I think you need to go to 35.
Yeah, it's 45 before the bridge and 35 after.
Yeah, so 45 would be a good,
Yeah.
good start.
Good. Next week we'll act on that.
Okay,
Thank you.
I think mine.
The four of us are residents along Ingram Avenue, and we really appreciate this
Thanks for coming in, yeah.
activity.
Public
because
safety is always
It's
first.
gonna slow people down and make it a little safer on that road.
We will. We'll have to let these guys park in our driveways too, so welcome them when they show up.
Yeah, you're more than happy to park in my driveway.
Yeah.
Cold lemonade.
Yeah, get your
Actually,
lemonade
that'd
stand
be
out.
great. That'd be great.
Thank you.
Nice, thank you.
Thank you. Discussion on policy procedure, acceptance of subdivision road, chapter 25 subdivision regulations. Is that you?
Yeah, that's something we briefly discussed last week. You left early and I talked to.
Oh, yeah.
We're, I guess, not really following the subdivision ordinance in at least one case. This specific item, and Jake can give you a little more on it because he's been in that conversation with the person who's having trouble there. There's been a couple of new roads in the Ohio subdivision that have not been accepted by the county yet. Specifically, the county engineer goes out after the developer makes the improvements, does an inspection, come up with a punch list of, it might be okay to go, or there might be a couple of items on the road that need to be fixed. Maybe the inlet slope for a curb inlet isn't correct, or
Sure.
some curving isn't quite right, or, there might be some joints that weren't crack filled, just things like that. To my knowledge, that has not been done with the newer roads in Ohio. And until those roads are accepted, lots should not be available for sale. There's been some building going on up in that area, and that's where we're getting the problem. Silt runoff from the new building construction is basically fouling up the inlet structure, and then that sediment and runoff is ending up in another resident's driveway, yard. So the struggle is whose road is it? That will enable us to either do something about the problem or require the developer or the builder to do it. We do have the ability to contact the DNR to stop the sediment, because it is, even though it's not over an acre, since it's getting into the water, then it is a violation of clean water. Now, the ordinance also says that the county should not expend any funds for maintenance or improvements until those roads are accepted. And since the cattle are already up barn, lots have been sold, buildings or homes have been built, as a courtesy to those residents, the county has did snow removal and some mowing out there. So I did contact the county attorney last week and invite him to this meeting. And I knew leaving here last week that they have a criminal trial today. Deshaun suggested that we delay it for a week. I said we're still going to have the discussion, but we'll continue it next week with their input. Has the county tacitly accepted the roads by doing the maintenance? And I don't think you were on the board when we had a similar problem with the same subdivision years ago. The initial road that was built went out with the developer and his contractor. I identified a couple of things that need to be fixed before we accepted the road. The procedure is, the developer does that, contacts the county engineer again, they go back out for inspection, and that's good to go. It's now. When that happened, when we did the initial inspection, and it was several years ago, and the fixes were made, but instead of calling me for final acceptance, the developer hired a dirt mover to remove some soil, and I believe it went up north. What happened then was those trucks cracked up the boulevard entrance to the subdivision. I then went back out and with the developer and the contractor and I would call him a pavement expert because the developer was wanting to lay it on the contractor that your concrete was bad. The expert that the contractor brought out was a former DOT materials guy that was now working in the state of Nebraska, and over 30 years of experience of looking at pavements. He got out, looked, and said, "This is classic overload cracking. The trucks cracked this up." So I turned to the developer and said, "Get this repaired, call me, and then we'll move on from there." That never happened. You had about a 2-year standoff where they couldn't sell lots on the road because it was not part of the system. Of course, I was the bad guy, and every weekend I was informed of that. What happened was the board chair at the time decided to make a deal with the developer, and we came up with this document that Amy gave me last week that I said I didn't want to look at again because I had seen it years ago. Basically, the deal was we were going to accept the road, following our ordinance. The engineer had nothing to do with it. The board chair decided that for every lot that was sold, the county would get $1,000 to pay for the road repair. The math didn't work out because I informed the chair that there were 31 lots left to sell. That was $31,000, and they had my cost estimate to repair the road at $100,000. Where does the other $69,000 come from? It wasn't going to come from, at that time, my department.
Yeah.
So to this day, that boulevard entrance is still cracked. And I just didn't want to get into this type of a thing again. We will need, I think, some guidance from the county attorney next week on
Perfect.
is this our road or not. And that's maybe not the largest issue. The largest issue is to make things right out there.
Yep.
But in order to do that, I think we first need to know, is the road ours?
Right.
Then we'll handle it. If it's not, we're pushing it to the developer.
Put that on the agenda for next week.
Was there anything I
No,
missed?
that sums it up pretty well. You probably remember we've had this issue for 2 or 3 years now since I started. DNR was out there, did get on them for a little bit. They cleaned up their act, and now it's went down there after the last rain, and it's, inch or so or more of silt across the whole road. You got how expensive those homes are, and they're driving through a mud pit to get to their home.
Right.
One guy put an in-ground pool. He's the one that's contacted me. The soil actually ran into his pool. He had to drain his whole pool when we did it. And so, yeah, something needs to be addressed. I understand the frustration. I think it's very justified. So just looking to help him out.
I guess one thing I'd like to add is we need to follow the county ordinances. For your individual departments, the county ordinances are the local law. We can't, and different departments cannot violate the ordinances. We have to follow them. The board does too. And I believe this type of issue with the subdivision roads is going to continue to come up. So it's a roadmap of exactly how you do a subdivision, and somebody wanting to come in and do it differently. The ordinance either needs to be changed or followed. We just can't operate without that guidance. We do, I think they have done in that department a very good job of following the ordinances. When we can't follow them, then there's a variance procedure that comes up to the board. If things are laid out and happen that way, everybody's happy, except for somebody who's maybe not getting what they want, but we're at least following the law.
Makes sense. Stick it on the agenda for next week, team. What else you got there?
That's pretty much it. Scrub seal and ingrown, we're looking more at August now.
Okay.
One of our big things that we're dealing with right now is the seal coat roads that we did, Noise and Lambert, still haven't bleeded. I think Trent told me we're getting close to 1,500 tons of chips that we put on after it. Which we're looking pushing upwards of $40,000-$50,000 extra. Talked to the contractor, they're not sure what's going on, they'd like to figure it to the supplier of oil. I talked to the supplier yesterday, he said, we've been doing this for however many years, never had a problem. I mean, no one's taking blame for it, taking fault.
We just let people are here producing.
If we're gonna keep applying chips, is all we can do. Eventually it will heal up, it'll seal, it'll be fine. It's just how much time and money before that. We're looking to maybe shift gears going forward, because we're looking at, seal coat other roads, we do it every year, this year. Maybe using a different type of oil, or at the very least, backing the rate down, so not as much oil on the road, and up the rate of the chips a little bit more, so looking at those right now.
Maintenance nightmares, they're just expensive.
Yeah, and so between the different oils, there's pros and cons, we're trying to weigh those out. Right now, we might go a little bit different route, just because we can't commit our guys to months of doing this maintenance work right after doing the roads.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And of course, Jacob's been said that last week, when it's 110 in the shade, right?
Yeah, it's been pretty brutal on them.
It's brutal.
And Fremont
Yeah.
County's dealing with the same issue. They're not addressing them as much as us, just because budget wise, I'm assuming. Because we have a guy that drive home, he drives through their roads every day, and it's like they're service a lot. So, we're not the only ones dealing with it, but we'll do our best to solve it. That's all I have for general discussion. I wanted to stick around for ice cream cruise discussion.
I don't think Charlie here.
I don't think I'm.
We move on, if he shows up later, we can address it.
Yeah, I thought we were getting that.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're fine. Talk to Christy, she's got ice cream maker.
No, you missed that one.
Go ahead,
Karen.
I don't think Charlie was planning on being there, but I do want Jake to listen to the discussion. He has a question about, Dennis Lincoln having all that sand that was brought in from the flood. And he can't farm about 100 acres because of all the sand. So if somebody would like to buy that sand from the flood victim, is it permissible to not pay for the permit, or does that not happen? This is a discussion, and I said I would bring it forth and we can talk about it. So I don't know if we've ever excluded any flood families. We're not hauling, not paying a permit. Lonnie, what do you think?
Lonnie just left the room, Carol, but I think that kind of fits into our earlier discussion of the departments need to follow the ordinance and follow the law. It's the board that can grant a variance. So if the board generally accepts the idea that in this situation, those folks should not have to comply with any permit requirements, it has to be a decision of the Board of Supervisors, not putting it on the different departments and saying, well, in this case, don't follow the ordinance or don't follow the law. So
Right.
I see it as your decision as the three board members.
What I'd like to add to that, Carol, is whether you're doing it for the best cause in the world or not, it's still doing the damage to the roads. That's the whole point of the money. Also, FEMA, flood recovery stuff, even as a county, to get reimbursement for like debris removal, they want to see your permits that you pulled to where to put that debris, to make sure you're putting it in designated areas. So even in that situation, someone as the county still has to pull their permit. So just a bit of information for you.
Got it. Well, and I don't think he's gonna haul, 30, 40 loads. It was maybe one or two, but on 110-degree days when the roads are soft, you're always cautious of the damage that it can do. And I just told Charlie that I would, discuss it across the table and see what, the others are thinking about and what, and I don't think we've ever, reneged on any permits, have you, Jake, on the flood victim?
So
Can you
have we
recall?
ever waived the permit fee? Is that what you said?
Right,
Not since I've been here that I'm aware.
okay, alright.
I
But
mean,
yeah,
especially if he's selling it and making a profit, you would think you could pay a little,
see,
what is the,
I know,
what is
and
the
I
rate?
did not wanna ask him what he was gonna do with that sand, or whether he was going to put it on a building spot or whatever, but, I just thought that discussion should come up.
That was 35.
Is it?
It's gone up. You know, Montgomery had that problem at Elliott. Phelps up there on the bottom, they ended up windrowing on both sides after that 2019 flood. And they put a sign on 48, free sand. And it was gone in 2 months.
Well, might be one to do that.
Big.
Yeah, you mentioned 100 acres, didn't you, Carol?
Right,
That's
Yep.
that's gonna be a lot of sand. I'm assuming the depth ranges from anywhere from a few inches to a few feet.
I'm sure you're right, Kevin, yeah. And I don't, whether Dennis wants to start selling this to get it off his land, and then that's a whole, another story. But Charlie had just brought up that he would like to buy maybe some of the sand, and is that permissible of paying for the permit? So this is where we were at.
If they want to sell it, they can come in and apply for the permit and we'll move on from there.
I will let him know.
Perfect.
Okay,
No action taken on that then?
no,
You guys have anything else here?
that was it.
Okay. Mr. Honeyman, solar ordinance petition.
Thank you. Oh, I'm disappointed about the ice cream.
Yeah.
If you get over to our side of the county,
Okay.
call me. I'm the one that was gonna show you the old bridge, but I also have some interesting discoveries about, north of that bridge on 400th between Old 34 and the bridge.
Mhm.
That you bring you up, you'd be interested in it. It goes back a long ways. I gotta,
Let's reach,
yeah, but nobody's here.
right?
And I didn't know that there was gonna be this many people here, or I would have made my poor little copier work harder. And I'm gonna read this to you, if that's okay, Lonnie.
Go for it.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I'm Tom Honeyman. I'm from the very far east end of the county. I live a mile west of Emerson. We farm section 22 in Indian Creek. I am Tom Honeyman, and I ask your patience as I reveal our Eastern Mills County community's concern and feelings about the proposed industrial solar farm in sections 16 and 22 of Indian Creek Township. This script is also accompanied by a petition of tax-paying landowners and residents that are directly affected by this proposed project. Your auditor has the original. I gathered their signatures and had a great time visiting neighbors that in our hurried daily lives, I don't see or get to visit with very often. It was very enjoyable. I was going to be gone an hour. I didn't get home till 9 o'clock Sunday night. I had coffee and iced tea with every one of my neighbors and had a great discussion. I can report these facts from these interviews. Number one, they are concerned that other than Mr. Goy selling the property to Mid-America Energy, no one knows what's going to happen, nor do they believe the county knows what's going to happen. Number two, they were amazed that there was a written ordinance concerning this solar invasion. Number three, they were under the belief that the zoning term rural or agricultural meant corn, beans, wheat, cattle, hogs, etc., not an industrial solar complex, and their properties were secure from whatever mess this will create. None were aware, number 4, that the zoning might have changed. And why would it? Number 5, despite the rumors of Mid-America Energy, they do not know what will happen to their adjacent properties or homes. Let me expand on item 1. After Mid-America purchased Mr. Goy's property, they had evidently decided that this project was going to be one of their many drains on the free money for a greener world from the current federal administration. Even though it was zoned agricultural, which to these undersigned folks means production agricultural practices. I think Mid-America Energy bought the property with no regard to your zoning, because like the other free money projects that are going on in these counties, they are sure they can do whatever they want, or at least buy their way to project completion. So far, these projects range from solar to windmills to pipelines that pump high pressure CO2 to North Dakota. I'm sure there will be many more. And I'm looking at you, Lonnie, get ready. These folks that signed the petition are paying county taxes for the services you render important. They pay your salary, even your insurance indirectly. You might say they are some of your employers. I was amazed, and I include myself, of the secrecy or lack of communication between the east and the west side of the county. Fortunately, I know and do business with all of you, and I'm including Carol and Lonnie and Richard here. And enjoy hearing how the state has fouled up the county or what new ventures have happened on the west side, the Glenwood side of the county. The others do not share that friendly communication. All are puzzled why any leader of a county, east or west, would sell out his neighbors to an entity that will ruin very good farmland. These folks are farmers, involved for their livelihood in production agriculture. Carol and Richard are involved in that business. The fertility, tilth, and conservation of the soil directly relates to the amount of yearly production available to them as business people. Other than rainfall, and of course the ridiculous USDA crop reports, soil fertility is the #1 factor in their gross profits. As farmers, we have to comply with federal and state conservation plans, clean water regulations, runoff and erosion concerns and models. Will Mid-America Energy have the same agencies looking over their shoulder, or when the conservation practices that have been implemented in 16 and 22 are leveled out to accommodate solar panels, will they be fined as farmers would? I doubt that the free money grab has any concern for this county or any other county's soil conservation or soil longevity. If they are permitted to continue, who is going to hold them to the many promises that they've already made? With the rapid rate of technology, is all this worth a 15-year life to ruin that many acres for just a few years? As about 10 or 12 years ago in Forbes magazine, Warren Buffett stated that wind and solar energy projects were financially unfeasible unless you could get the public to pay for it. So Mid-America Energy jumped on this free money. It's almost like Lonnie would get a letter in the mail saying the government had opened 3 new survey offices with staff at no cost to Lonnie. He could keep and use the revenue however he saw fit. Not too bad a deal. I knew you would. As you can tell, I am concerned about the encroachment of this solar project in our community. And you know that, and you that know me realize that I could go on for some time. I encourage you to send Mid-America Energy somewhere else. If the county is bound to have a solar farm, put it in your industrial park or along the river that the government owns that's growing up to weeds. Regardless of your comprehensive plan written by dreamers or folks that want to live in the big city, keep the ag land just that, production ag land. Perhaps if there are special permits available in ag land zones, there are special permits available in residential, like a hog confinement next to the Glenwood High School plenty of water, flat ground for development. Seems ridiculous? So does an industrial solar farm in an agricultural zone. Is the east side of the county convenient because it's out of sight, out of mind? Of course. It is not the case for those of us who signed that petition. Another consideration is the industrialization of the U.S. Highway 34 corridor across the county. We are opposed to that concept both currently and in the comprehensive plan. If the plan is to grow the county, nothing will stop growth faster than continuous industry along Highway 34. The population will decline. It may grow in Glenwood and to the northwest toward Council Bluffs, but not the rest of the county. Once you adopt a pilot project in an ag zone land, you will never be able to stop the others. So if you can't stop it, why start it? Don't allow it. There's also the matter that a public meeting was held by the non-elected Board of Adjustment. I was unfortunately unable to attend. The petitioners reported in our conversations that all the comments from the gallery were against the project. The representatives of Mid-America gave little positive input. My neighbors also reported that they were treated like foreigners. I expect many of these folks on that petition are third-generation farmers. My family came from Scotland and arrived here in Section 22, Indian Creek Township, June of 1873. That's 3 years before the town of Emerson was platted. After 151 years, I should not feel like a foreigner in this county compared to a project manager from a non-resident company that's only a mere 29 years old. Why do they deserve more influence and power than these citizens that are affected by their solar fantasy? It was unfortunate that this board could not conduct a meeting in a leadership type of environment. Of course, they allowed the permit despite the opposition. In closing, and I am going to close, believe me, I think it's important to rephrase the fact that I am not against Mr. Goy selling his property in Mid-America. You and I know that's the right in a republic, and I think we still live in a republic. I'm not against Mid-America Energy buying it and owning it for the first time in the history of Mills County. Farmland. I am against it being bought out of free taxpayer monies and with the intent of doing whatever they want. That's the idea of zoning, to protect the agricultural base of the county. Despite the lofty ideas of your realtors and your dreamers, leave the property along Highway 34 zoned agricultural. In the future, I would also hope that the chasm of non-communication between the east and the west sides of the county be bridged, especially if it involves the east half of the county. Redirect these energetic money spenders to a non-productive part of the county. Maybe Mid-America Energy would sell their investment to a young starting farmer and save the natural beauty of that area. I appreciate the hours you as county supervisors spend on the county's affairs. Believe me, the days of Wayne Keith, Curtis, and Creighton Miller are over. I believe you have a very narrow window to legally get your ordinance together that represent the county's population, because if the free green money continues, you will be buried with wild proposals for what you have and what they don't, which is land. Repeal any attempt Mid-America has made to ruin your county. It certainly does not entertain economic development. They may dance with you once, then leave you like a fat girl at the prom. Once they start a variance, it will never stop. Preserve the ag zoning. Thank you, Tom Honeyman. There is a petition included with each one of those. I have one other thing to add. My neighbor, Dave McGrew, who is the naturalist in the east part of the county, that's of the Billy McGrew brothers, told me that there is a cottonwood tree straight west of Randy Knope's house on Douglas Creek, which goes between 16 and 22, that rivals the biggest tree in the state of Iowa. It is 29 feet in circumference. Is that tree going to survive? Douglas Creek going to survive? Do you have any questions?
I do not at this time. Carol?
Great speech, Tom. Thank you.
Get your knee fixed.
Yes, absolutely. Ronnie, where do we go from here?
We can definitely put it on the agenda for some more discussion next week. There's no, it's not an action item for today, so,
Right,
we can put it on the agenda next week.
yep,
Put it on the agenda for next week.
very well said.
Can I ask you, did you do anything about the letter to the IUB about eminent domain?
Working with, I have not personally written anything, but I've worked with several of the other counties on eminent domain.
There's 8 now that have sent that letter.
Yeah.
Or maybe 9. I think 9.
Yeah.
I didn't know if your county attorney, I just wanted to know what the follow-up was.
I will follow up with that.
I still, this is the CO2 pipeline that we've been fighting for 3 years. Goes right up about, what, a half mile inside the county through up the edge of one of our properties. Mainly it's in Montgomery County. It basically runs parallel to Highway 59, which was the first introduction to this, what I refer to as free money by the government it's a man by the name of Bruce Rastetter, who's a plunger. He's getting free money and he wants to go to all the ethanol plants, sequester CO2, put it under 3,000 pounds of pressure to liquefy it, and pump it to North Dakota. And even though that they refused to admit that it's going to be for fracking, finally Big Oil came out and said, we have to have it. In order to get more oil out of the shell, we have to have something, and they can't use water to pump down there and force more oil out. And he's going to trying to get the federal government to pay for the pipeline, and then his history is he will sell it. So he's going to get paid for it twice. And it's a private entity, which in the state code of Iowa, eminent domain cannot be used between a private person and a private entity. However, it fell into the IUB, which is a 3-member non-elected board, and they approved it finally. So that will probably go to the federal Supreme Court. I mean, the state Supreme Court has already figured out that the 700-page report the IUB filed was horribly incorrect. There were some things that were just not reported correctly. So they're going to kick it back to the IUB to redo that. And the best thing is all that stops progress. And he's burning money every day. It also depends on the governors of South Dakota and North Dakota, whether or not they listen to their constituents.
Tom, there's a county that passed an ordinance against the CO2
Yes.
line, and they lost in court, or
No.
they haven't lost yet?
What you're talking about,
Was it
Shelby
Carroll?
County.
Shelby County. Yeah.
and their
Shelby.
board of supervisor president is, yeah, his
Steve.
whole goal is to represent the county. Raster immediately sued him. There's 3 lawsuits against him. And if you ever, he's the one that, when I talked to him at the fair, and Charlie Thompson, who's a representative, they're pretty sure there's about 30 representatives that are going to throw this thing back into the legislature, which is where it should have been decided. Those people are elected. You're affecting millions of acres across Iowa, and you're going to take land from people that don't want to do it. Yes. And so they're going to, it should have been in the legislature. I've been up there 5 times, and our legislators, who are Republicans, won't even talk to me. And I'm pretty sure they're scared to death that they're not going to get their Christmas bonus from Rastetter, because I know the governor is well paid by him. They send 300 emails a day between the 2 of them. And I was very disappointed in her. In the rotunda of the Capitol twice, there was 1,800 landowners and voters. And she would not walk out of her office, even when she was asked, and look over the rail and even wave. Would not come out of her office. That's not very good as an elected official. It doesn't work very well. Some of these people are spending $40,000, $50,000 of their own money. So that lawsuit he would report to you hasn't cost him a dime. So Montgomery County is horrified. They won't even do anything with ordinance. They're scared they're gonna get, and the reason I know this is because my son, who is the youngest son, is at that board meeting this morning. They've been trying for 2 years to get Montgomery County even to have an ordinance. And they're afraid they're gonna get sued. And Kinkle tells them, it hasn't cost us a dime. Let them sue you. Shelby has a great county attorney like you guys do. Montgomery County, not so good. But there's attorneys for hire, you know. Whatever cost has come up, the county's insurance has picked it up. So it's a problem that what worries me is why I put that in the context. If the current administration keeps going and this free money and the green, most of this stuff will not change the environment. And Clint Gravitt's wife's brother works for MUD in Omaha. And when he saw that, he laughed and he says, you know where this electricity will go? And I said, well, I assume it'll go to Omaha. No, he says it'll go to Texas. We send billions of volts to Texas daily out of this power plant and everything around because we don't use it. We don't have the population. So again, why do you want to ruin your county? I mean, I like Texas. I've been to West Texas. I rodeoed in Texas. They're nice folks. Let them make their own electricity. Sweden puts theirs 25 miles off the shore of the ocean because my sons had to sail around them in a United States warship. And he said it's scary at night to figure out if they put any more out there. It just bothers me that there's ground available. You know, in California, they put solar panels over the parking lots in the airports. It protects the cars. How many times have you heard on the news that the cars at Offutt or Epley have been, all the windows are broken out by hail? I think it's a great idea. Why Mills County? Why in the middle of nowhere? In a farm that the CSR is almost 90. That ridge to the north is very, very fertile. And I'll guarantee you that's where the panels will be because it's flat. You both are contractor people. It always amazes me that people can't build anything unless it's flat. So and if you really want to know about this project, there's a lady in Red Oak, Jan Norris, that reports the facts and she stays up every day legally and information-wise what's going on. You will, if this goes through, you won't believe the drain on your county sheriff and your county engineer because those roads are just going to be beat to death.
Perfect. Is that the agenda for next week?
Yeah, let's do that.
And I'll come every week. I mean, if the high school
And you know
senior
what,
can, I can.
Steve Kinkle was fighting because that pipeline was gonna be only a block away from the school and the Harlan Hospital. And he said, I'm elected to protect the people. And he said, that's what I'm gonna do, and then they lost. So he's pretty frustrated.
They didn't lose.
They basically did lose, but he thought they would have gotten a lot better than they did.
You mean the IUB ruling, Carol?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was expected. I also learned that I got a daughter that's in charge of the innovation campus for University of Nebraska at Lincoln. And she is not a fan of Pillen, the governor. I didn't know anything about him. I didn't know he was a degree vet. And so I read about a 4-page article out of the Lincoln Gazette about him. And to make a long story short, when he pushed all those hog buildings through, his lawyer, Domina, is the same lawyer that's representing all the people that do not want the pipeline. So I called Jan and I said, I don't think you got anything to worry about. This guy evidently is a good lawyer. He got Pillen elected governor and he has warded off all the lawsuits. They literally made a mistake and put liquid hog manure in a center pivot and sprayed it on 3 neighbors' houses and front yards and machinery. liquid hog manure, and he got out of that. So, I mean, I think this lawyer's pretty good. Anyway, if you ever want to have a county meeting, or you want to talk to anybody, Carol's heard him. Steve Kinkle is very well versed, and he is the other one that urgently is pushing counties, get these ordinances in place, because this free money thing is just gonna bury you. It absolutely will drown you.
What is a free money?
That's right.
I'm confused.
It actually started at the tail end of Trump's deal, when the EPA and the people that are so afraid that there's too much CO2 in the atmosphere, they started putting out taxpayer dollars at the federal level, so that if you and I came up with a project, even as crazy as pumping CO2, they would fund it. And the Biden administration, twice in executive orders, have more than tripled that amount of dollars. It's just ridiculous. None of this would have ever come up, never, if it wasn't for the free money.
I think it's the price of solar panels and the price to produce solar power has really gone down very quickly. And so that's why it's much cheaper, much faster for folks in Mid-America to build solar farms than it is to,
There's not a paddle wheel in the river, is there?
I don't know what that means.
That's pretty cheap energy when you stick a wheel and it goes around as the river runs and it makes electricity. There's not a nuclear plant over there, is there?
No.
That's very inexpensive.
No. Well,
The United States Navy, every Nimitz
not
class,
Nebraska, where they just shut their nuclear power plant down.
you know, and I don't know why, but there's no money to fund that. There's no money to fund that.
I was confused at what the free money was.
That's what the free
I
money,
don't think Mid-America's using any free money to do this project.
pretty sure they are.
I don't think they are.
We'll throw that on the agenda for next week and discuss it with all three of us here.
So what's going to be on the agenda?
We're discussing it again with all three supervisors.
Thanks, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank,
Josh, you are up.
Kind of here for Deshawn. She's in the trial right now. Believe it or not, the back garage that we have leaks. I know it's a surprise to everybody. Part of the garage was initially used for storage of old files. Most of the files we have to keep 10 years unless it involves a murder. Problem we have
where's the garage?
behind the sheriff's office.
Oh, okay. Right.
Here's the pictures, Lonnie. Backside, the staff, both Sabrina and Tina, have done their best to get everything copied, put in, you can flip it over on the backside too, flipped over or scanned into the computer system. Everything else that is back there at this point has been water damage, got mold, this, that, or the other. Deshawn wanted me to bring it forward to you guys to get approval to dispose of them records because they're unusable at this point.
It's legal. I'm all for it. What do you think, Carol?
Yeah, I'm with you, Lonnie. If that's legal and we can get rid of them, let's do it.
We can destroy them?
Yeah,
Kenny says.
yeah, county attorney just wanted the board's approval to do it. She's good with it.
I would make the motion to approve the destruction of prior year's records due to exposure.
And I second that.
Any discussion?
Is there a certain way, Josh, that has to be destroyed or just, shredded?
We'll just shred them with everything else. We pay for that shredding service. So they just go into the shred bins and
Any other discussion, Carol?
That's final.
Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Shred them.
thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Christy Pine, DJ Graham.
Come on up. Oh, you want
It's
to?
time for ice cream.
It's time for ice cream. Here we go.
Rick, I apologize, Rick Outman, our store manager, could not be here today, and DJ was supposed to come too, so we recruited Jeff to come along with me. Okay, so our goal today is to not shut down the ice cream cruise because we understand it's a big fundraiser and it's a good event for people. However, we are a business that will actually be open because the dates of the ice cream cruise this year are September 27th through the 29th, which is right in the middle of harvest, our busiest time of the year. And we will be open Saturday and Sunday, which are 2 of the days of the ice cream cruise. Not to mention, we just learned there is a brand new business going across the road from us. I don't know when it will be open, but they're working on the property now. So if it's open by September, it will also be effective. So a few weeks ago, we held an auction at Agrivision Equipment, and we were good neighbors. We went down, we communicated with them. We asked them if we could use their parking lot to help us with our customers that would be coming, because we were expecting about 1,000 people to come and partake in the auction. And they were great neighbors. They let us use the parking lot. We bust them in and out. And that's all we're asking for is communication. We're also asking for a solution for safety and allowing us to still do business. Because as of right now,
Access.
yes, as of right now, the way they've done it, the last 2 years that I've been there, Jeff's been down there longer than I have, they literally close 190th, northbound, southbound, and they all are going, both lanes are going southbound.
They bring everybody in from the north, the last few years.
I'll disagree with you there. We do it on both intersections. They come in from the south and they come in from the north.
Yeah.
We have a problem with
Some do come in from the south, I will.
quite a
They
few.
didn't
because
close
they
it, but they were encouraging everybody on their directions and how to get there, pointing them down that road
Mhm.
from the north.
And we try to, when they start backing up on I-29 is when we have a problem. Push down to the destination center. Yeah, because it unfortunately becomes.
Yes. Yes, Carol?
I remember when everybody was talking about this afterwards, and our supervisors, we were so sorry that we didn't realize the amount of people that this brings in. And I think maybe we should have a sit-down talk with, is it the racing people who put this on, Christie?
Yes. And Doug Whitworth is the one that manages it and runs the whole show for that. And you're correct. Last year, what happened is we were so upset. And the reason why was we had one customer that had to come down and get his combine. He couldn't even get it out. Both lanes were closed. He had no access to get it out. We also had a customer park at BP and walk down to get parts. Our remote techs could not even get out. Our manager threw his hands, and then we also had a cell phone issue.
Yeah, the cell phone towers were completely jammed. You couldn't use your cell phone.
And
They didn't bring in any there's boosters that they can bring in to alleviate that a little bit, but they, thought about that, I guess. I don't know.
So what we need to do is have all of us sit at the table and with Josh also, with our deputy, and get this taken care of, because this is not gonna happen this year. We are so sorry.
So
that's what we're asking for, is some sort of help and solution and communication.
Carol, I don't remember if you were actually out there, but there was one year there that they did this, that they had the DOT involved because there were signs on the interstate. They had state troopers involved, sheriffs involved. They had all these entities involved in this whole coordination, and that was absolutely the least disruptive time that I remember. I mean, they coordinated everybody in. They brought, half the traffic in from the south, some from the north, but there was a joint effort of everybody. And this last time, it was like
Last 2 times,
yeah.
2 years.
And then they moved it.
Okay.
Then they moved it to September, which didn't help our situation.
Right.
We can deal with that in August or July, our slower times, but in September,
Right there, right,
that don't work.
so true,
So
so true.
I guess that's kind of what, when Christy and I on our way in here was talking, it's like, what we would like to see is some help getting
Yeah.
all these people coordinated. I don't know if they didn't reach out to anybody, or if they did or not, I don't know.
No, not at all.
You know, I compared when I was talking to Christy, I was like, look at that Ragbri effort. That's been a joint effort of everybody coordinating all of that. And that's kind of what we're asking here is if they're not asking for help, somebody needs to reach out to them and offer that.
Yeah.
And also, it is also a huge safety concern because what if someone at our place of business got hurt and we have to get an ambulance in? Or at the track, if somebody wrecked down there and needed an ambulance, there's no way to get one in. Not the way it should. So it's a huge safety thing that we just want to bring to everybody's attention. I do see we have representative from DOT here, Austin, right?
Yep, I'm Austin.
And we got Josh, the sheriff's office, and then Jake. I also sent them all letters last year as well. Now, the previous sheriff never responded though. We understand that situation, but our whole goal is to have everybody on board. And one thing that Rick would like to know, if any of you guys know this answer, we want the truth. How does Doug get these permits? Who does he get them from? Does anybody know that? Because what
I'm just
happened?
gonna ask the question, is there a permit required from the county?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so let me explain something that happened. So, Jeff and I had hopped on a gator, went down to him and said, okay, we have people coming into our parking lot. You cannot shut down both lanes. He graciously opened them only because I went down there. I went down there and raised hell because I'm not scared to do that. But anyhow, he graciously opened them, but then all of a sudden, a couple hours later, I don't even know who the deputy was. He brought someone down, they got in my face, and he produced this pink slip of paper that said that was his permit. And I didn't know if it was legit. I mean.
We just all need to get on the same page.
I agree. So that's why we're here.
Yeah.
And we want to start this now because this is happening in September.
So I think one of the, we had, like you mentioned, a couple of years ago, we were all over at your office, Jacob, all coordinating, state patrol, sheriff, like you mentioned. And I think one of the kind of unintended consequences is for the first couple of years, DOT provided the message signs.
Okay.
And then one year we were out, so we plugged them into a contractor and said, rent your own, which is fine. Which we do that, all over the place. We just tell them, rent your own, but we still control them. And I think the next year after that, they were like, oh, we'll just run our own signs. We don't have to do anything with anybody.
And do what they want.
Yeah, so I think that contributed to last year being so bad is because they could rent cones and barrels and barricades and message signs. And I think we found out about it like as it was starting. So, yeah.
Well, and I don't know.
Getting everybody on the same page. We've done it before. It's easy to do again. Like you said, now is the time to be planning this.
Right, and I don't know if you guys are aware, we would go down to work, they put trash bags on the stop sign down there that goes into our, when you come off the lights and you're heading down 190th, there's that stop sign there, because it's one-way road that comes around, but then it comes this way. They just bag the stop signs. And I'm like, what? How is that legal? So, yeah.
The lack of coordination.
They can rent signs and cones and all of that, but they can't place them on either a primary road or a county road or even a city road. So, giving them direction that they can rent their own signs, did they place them on the interstate? Did they place them on the county?
No, I don't know where they placed them last year.
Oh, I don't know off the top of my head. I think there might have been one on 34.
One on 34 and one on 29.
Okay, that's,
They did,
yeah.
okay.
Now,
Yeah,
okay, so
that's
Josh,
not-
since you've helped with this event before, I take it since you've had some input. On the interstate though, so like Jeff was talking about in the past, because I remember seeing the big old electronic signs, routing them to go to the PJ exit, which helped a lot. because that would detour it from our business. However, we totally understand there's still gonna be traffic coming from Nebraska side, you know,
Yeah.
Bellevue and that would come down our road. But even like,
Split that traffic. That's-
yeah, if we,
what's-
that's what we're
happened
thinking,
in
if you
the
split that
past. You
traffic.
Split that traffic,
And
and it wasn't too bad.
the problem is, like you guys are saying, a few years ago it was great.
Mhm.
This thing has ballooned into 3-4
True.
times the size of what it normally
That is
was.
true.
Yes,
So we're expecting all these people,
yes.
and DOT, well, second item, I'm gonna say,
Okay.
is the major issue we have is when it starts backing up on the interstate, now it becomes life or death.
Yes.
Somebody gets rear-ended and they're at a complete stop, we gotta get everybody off the interstate. So I'll be the first to say, absolutely, we shut down the road so we can get people off the interstate, off the major highway. Unfortunately, it's, you know, a county back road. Once that's cleared up, it's opened right back up. That is the reason that it has been shut down that way, because it becomes, hey, we can't have people backed up on the interstate.
There you go.
34, I can buy it, they can back all the way up. DOT's still not gonna like it, but it's not the interstate. You know, the signboard did say, hey, if it's backed up, go down to the PJ exit, come back north. You know, I guess as far as medical's concerned, because we all had a meeting last year, we had DOT at our office last year, because we had a meeting about this. As far as medical is concerned, medical knows they're coming through PJ, up into the track that way, and or up anywhere else if they need to go that route. But that is the only reason it is shut down, because when it comes to traffic being backed up out there, we gotta get them the hell off the major roadways, unfortunately. So, and sometimes they just do it on their own, I'll be honest with you, and then there ain't no way 2 cops are gonna stop it.
Well, and one thing Rick brought up too is, if we have to shut down both lanes, can we please do it at our south entrance instead of our north, so we still have people coming in, although it's gonna take them
Right.
forever to get to
Yeah.
us?
Yeah,
Right.
and I think it's, you know, it's a truly bad idea, and I guess I would encourage you guys, as far as the conversation, being the good neighbors or whatnot, go down and say, hey, guys, this is harvest time. Can we please do it beginning of August? So that way it's not affecting us? I mean,
So when the auction, I made a comment to him during the auction, and he just laughed in my face. So that's, Rick goes, get on the county supervisor, we're gonna take care of this,
Yeah,
so.
we need help coordinating.
Yes, we need
Because
help, and I
we've
think it's,
attempted having conversations with them.
he's very
I will say
rude.
too,
Right.
that the track did just get bought by a different entity.
Oh.
We have not met them yet.
No,
There's
Rick
several-
has, Rick met the guy.
Rick had, there's a couple of people involved now, and they've made a lot of improvements. I see a little bit of a hope there in the management of it.
you're dreaming this, but I like it.
But Doug is, still involved.
Yeah, Doug is still the manager of the whole thing, so I don't know, maybe there's hope. They're, like I said, they're fixing up a lot of stuff there, they're doing a lot of repairs, doing a lot of attempts.
And they've done different ingress, egress, and parking, everything has been different every single year. And that's why their traffic flow has changed every single year.
Yep.
So,
It has.
I mean, it's not, you change everything every year, you don't know what's working, what's not working, because it kind of blows up all the time. And then, like you mentioned, it just gets
Bigger and
more and more
The
popular
amount of
every single
people
year.
last year, it was way, you could tell.
I don't know if there's an event permit though that's required, so I don't know how we can control it other than with the sheriff.
Well, I was just gonna ask, we can invite them to at least one meeting if they're.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
Will
nice.
they come? Do you know? Okay.
I don't know.
Well, let's do it.
They're using your road.
Put it on the agenda again for next week and we'll
That would be an
we'll discuss
incentive.
it again. It's not an event that's happening right now. We still have
Or
August.
Lonnie, can we have a separate meeting? And then call in, you know, the truth of everybody, and Christie is right. You know, look how long we've been tiny rag ride.
Yeah,
And I don't know, maybe we should have a separate meeting on that.
we just need to get all the players at the table at the same time. I don't know that we have to have a special meeting for it. It can happen during a board meeting or after a board meeting or same day, but
that's true.
That's kind of what we're asking.
Yes. we just all need to be on
Everybody
the
on the same page,
Yeah.
because we've tried and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Okay,
And Doug thinks he can do what he wants, so.
We did sit at the meeting with them last year, and my
well,
focus is
like
not
I said,
necessarily
Christie,
transportation.
when we
That's-
heard after Johnny was telling us,
From
we
an
go,
EMS
what?
standpoint,
So,
that's very
yeah.
taxing, because
We had
utilizing
no clue,
Glenwood Rescue.
so
That's all.
we
You
apologize for
know,
what
yeah,
the
go out there
catastrophe
and
was
transport
last year,
So
and
we try to communicate that.
it's not
But
gonna
then
happen
actually,
again, that's for
There's a
sure.
lot to the city of Glenwood, and from a compensation standpoint, we're not really doing anything.
Austin, do you have a card that you could leave with us, or
No, I don't, but I can send my contact info.
please do that, yeah, and we'll use you as the DOT contact on this, and
Yeah, Mike put, I was communicating with Mike, but Mike told me Austin would be my contact.
do
going forward.
do you have a
Yeah,
contact
Chrissy.
for this Doug Worth?
I do, I have a phone number.
Can you get that to Amy?
I have an email for him too.
Do you?
That
Okay,
would be
perfect, okay.
Let's just go, I think it's best to get everyone on the same page, and we gotta work
Oh,
together.
yeah,
and
But
Amy
public
brought-
safety is the key,
Yeah, I've got
we gotta keep people from backing up on the interstates and 34 and get traffic in and out of there.
Well, and Amy brought
They
up,
can't do it by themselves.
it might be good to bring in the, fire, medical,
We'll
and,
have Travis here too.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
AMA.
yeah, and, yeah.
Yep.
And maybe this new business owner who we don't know who it
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
yet.
Doug can handle that. We'll get him here. If he's the manager, we'll go to him and he can bring it.
She didn't bring ice.
No,
So they used to call it the ice cream cruise because it used to be like in mid-July.
Yeah.
And then people that went to it complained about how hot it always was, so that's why they moved it to September.
Yeah, we got that.
I've driven by there, you know, it's good, so also the exit at Nebraska City, we go to Lincoln on too. Sometimes that entrance off the interstate, I was talking to Josh about it, to get off the interstate, that is backed up clear onto the interstate, because there's a stop sign down there, you know?
I got traffic signals coming later this fall.
Well, I'm just saying that intersection, I don't think anybody knew it would be that busy, that big.
What made that explode was when Lincoln built their beltway around the south side of Lincoln. So then that made it easier for the trucks, because they used to have to go through Highway 2 that went through Lincoln. Now they exit I-80 at 77 and then
Thank you.
so that's just.
Cool.
Thanks,
Amazed.
Thank you, Carol.
Stay in touch.
Absolutely.
Oh, I will stay in touch, don't worry.
Thank you.
Next time, we should have ice cream.
Next time, bring ice cream, yeah.
You mentioned density. Indoor.
Oh, okay, perfect.
20 years ago.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's amazing. And you knew he was at Anzio, didn't you?
No.
Have you ever watched him walk or get on his horse? He almost lost his leg. He got wounded at Anzio.
Jake.
That's right.
And what? Sometimes they would film 3 or 4 episodes in one day because he would be
All right, the
shot.
next item on the agenda is.
See you later.
Thank you, guys.
You just want to give
Dixie Thomas will be the
No,
cheerleaders.
no, no,
Dixie
no.
said that she will not make
No,
a meeting,
right.
but, I think
Yeah.
it's
And I
a
talked to her
formality.
too. It's basically the post that's going in, which looks like a little skinny fence post, not a big deal, I don't think.
As long as
And then
Steve's okay with it, you know.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I
We do
talked
have
to her.
wires buried out there, so make sure he's.
Yeah. And then, they wanted to know, should they do Thursday night before they close everything off, or should they wait until Friday, or?
I would do Thursday night,
Okay,
because I think they're gonna shut this,
Yeah.
I think they're gonna start cleaning up around, 3 in the
3 in
morning.
the morning, that's what I was thinking too, but I wanted to verify with you guys, so that was basically just, go ahead and do them, I mean, it's like, you really don't need to do this process, but it, I think it's just.
I told her
paper
just to
trail, which is
formalize
good.
it, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, though it is a paper trail. Carol, would you like to make a motion to either approve or disapprove the use of the courthouse lawn by the cheerleaders?
I make a motion to approve to use the courthouse lawn for the Glenwood cheerleaders to put a ragtime display on.
I will second that motion. Is there any other discussion? Just make sure that Steve is there when they're putting any posts in the ground, you know, for the cables and wire.
Yeah, yeah, 'cause like, it was all fine over there, so,
Okay.
yeah.
All those in favor?
I,
Aye. Thank you.
Okay, and then this one is,
Steve Pool.
Yeah,
Cheer
right
backup battery.
so what happened was, we didn't lose electricity everywhere in the building a couple weeks ago, but the boiler did. And so they thought it was broken, but it was actually, it's something that we just needed a battery backup. It would stay going and fine, because if it was off all weekend, we would have an issue. So that's the price that they came in with from Bob, I believe.
Is this a budgeted item through building and grounds?
He has money, not for that specific item, but he does have it for building improvement, and so that would fall in that category, yes.
All right, Carol, $1,978, Carol.
Okay, all right, well, we gotta have I make a motion to approve the backup battery for the chiller
Yes.
for the courthouse,
And that is through Control Services Incorporated, correct?
okay?
And I will second Whitman's motion to approve Control Services Incorporated for the amount of $1,978 for a backup battery for the chiller. Gotta keep the computers cool. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let's not do it hard to stop. You know, we gotta do it earlier.
Okay, and then this last part here, it's just, where you guys, we discussed it somewhat last week, but it's just the official, where you guys are voting and approving to close down just the actual building of the courthouse on Friday, July 19th, due to all the road closures. People won't be able to get in and out, only 911 will be in here. And they will be parking elsewhere and brought in by the golf carts and stuff for them to get to work and back. So, and this just affects the courthouse employees, and they'll be using their own bank leave time. So there's no out of pocket extra county for this.
What if they choose not to?
Everybody in the courthouse has already agreed to do it. We went and asked everybody before we wanted to do a formal presentation, and everybody agreed to it.
100% of them,
Yes, 100%.
other than our EMS and.
Right, EMS will still be here, and dispatch will still be here because they're needed, of course. But people can't, customers can't get to us anyway, and there was no way we could possibly get in, but we would not be able to get out.
Right. So do they have their choice of how to buy the city police or behind the David State Bank? Is that just permissible?
For the dispatchers, they'll get them in, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, the rest of the employees will not be working.
Right.
all right. I'll make a motion to approve to shut down only the court July 19th due to multiple road closures, rag brides, lots of people, confusion, and it would just work out better this way.
I will second that motion if all the employees are for this. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. That includes what I have on my agenda. Do you want to make a motion to adjourn, Supervisor Benton?
And I make a motion to adjourn, and I'm sorry I didn't get in, Lonnie, but I'm really trying to baby this knee because I can't afford another knee surgery, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's frustrating. Perfect. I will second the motion to adjourn at 9:39. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We are adjourned.
Okay, talk to you next week.
Thanks, Carol.
All right.
Closed up.
I was doing kind of a big article like for Thursday.
Just close it down on the computer. So I did last week.
This one here?
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay, I thought Katie came in. Or just X out on top?